Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 9th, 2019 Old Bridge Town Council meeting. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence and for our prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment to remember those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and this evening, Mayor Henry would like to recognize someone.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council President. Unfortunately, tonight I have three names I'd like you to remain standing for. Number one is Vivian Owen, who recently passed away, and everyone, she was no stranger to this room. She was our assistant clerk. She was recently retired, and as I said, no stranger. And just a few meetings ago, she was recognized in person for her years of service to the community and the role she played in these council meetings. Second person I would like you to remain standing for is Michelle Gentile. Michelle is the sister of our township attorney, Mark Roselli, who is not with us tonight. She died recently, and it was brought to my attention that Michelle played a very important role in Mark's life as she helped him get through law school. And third is Steve Mamakis Sr., father of Steve Mamakis, who heads the Office of Economic Development for the township. Steve was very close to his dad, and they had a very special relationship. So I ask you all here tonight, watching at home, to keep Vivian, Michelle, and Steve Sr. in your thoughts and prayers for themselves and for their families. Thank you.
A moment of silence, please. Our prayer, Mr. Pasquini.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear thy voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right. And grant that we have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, September 23rd, 2019, 7:30 p.m. Mr. Cahill.
Here.
Dr. Greenberg. Present. Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Paschetti.
Here.
Mr. Rizzoli.
Here.
Mrs. Walker. Here. President Sohar.
Here.
7 present.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the meeting. The first thing we'll be doing this evening is presentations, introduction of new police officers. Mayor Henry?
Let the record show.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council, members of the public, those watching at home. Tonight, I have 3 new officers to introduce to you, new police officers that have just joined our ranks. I, along with Chief Volkert, have the privilege tonight to introduce to you the newest members of the Old Bridge Township Police Department. These new officers are beginning their careers in law enforcement with their dedication and commitment to serving public in order to provide a safe and secure environment to ensure a better quality of life for the residents of our community. Zach Pitius, please join me. These officers have all been sworn in, and I'd just like to introduce to the public and to the council. If you recall, a few months ago, I introduced council to a new group of officers within the police department. At that time, one of the officers, Zachary Pitius, was on military assignment with the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Officer Pitius. Zachary is a graduate of the Morris County Public Safety Training Academy. He was sworn into the department on December 19th, 2018. Zach currently serves as a United States Marine Corps reservist and has received numerous awards and commendations, including the National Defense Medal, the Selected Marine Corps Reserve Medal, Squadron Marine of the Quarter, Meritorious Selection and Promotion to Corporal. He was also served as a Master at Arms. Zachary holds an associate's degree in political science from Brookdale Community College. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Police Officer Zachary Pitius. Next, we have William Kenny, 24 years old, is a recent graduate of the Essex County Police Academy. He took his oath of office with the department on August 13, 2019. William has served with the United States Marine Corps and is honorably discharged in February of 2018. While serving in the U.S. Marine Corps, he received the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal in Spain, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, and the Expert Rifle and Marksmanship badges. We are proud to recognize William Kenny as an officer with the Old Bridge Police Department. Next up is Evan Migliori, 25 years old, is a recent graduate of the Camden County Police Academy. Evan took his oath of office with the department on August 13, 2019. Evan has served with the United States Marine Corps and was honorably discharged to Selected Marine Corps Reserves. He's a recipient of the National Defense Service Ribbon, the Meritorious Mass for the performance of duty in support of NATO exercise Sabre Strike 17, and an Expert Rifle qualification. Put these all on one page from now on.
I told him.
Evan holds a bachelor's degree in Arts and Justice Studies and an associate's degree in Science and Criminal Justice. Evan is an Eagle Scout with the Boy Scouts of America and currently holds the rank of Assistant Scoutmaster. It is my honor to introduce to you Evan Migliori.
Please, thank you.
This way, guys.
Going the wrong way. Poor guys.
Okay. Okay. Congratulations again. Lots of luck.
Thank you, Counsel.
All right. Next will be approval of minutes of previous meetings. Executive session minutes, June 10th, 2019. Do I?
Second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Combined meeting, June 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Combined meeting, June 24th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be our bill listing. Mrs. Walker?
Accounts payable September 9, 2019, $19,254,205.15.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll August 16, 2019, $958,453.85.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime August 16, 2019, $42,863.90.
Do I have a motion?
Move it. Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli. Mr. Shaw, may we have a breakout, please?
Thank you, Council President. As Councilwoman Walker indicated, the total overtime for this pay period was $42,863.90. There were uptick in building and road department related to the flooding and tree downs on August 7th. And also, they had to do a wall removal in a recreation building with a problem in the back. In the recreation department, they have a concert on August 1st and August 8th. And in tax collection, it's a tax collection time, and they have, late hours and overtime related to that. For the police department, the sworn officers, the total overtime for this pay period was $27,645.20. There was no deduction for grant. There was a deduction for ETO was $4,501.31. Net overtime for men and women was $23,143.89, representing 390.25 hours. There was a beach patrol during this period, and one officer injured on duty.
Thank you.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll August 30th, 2019, $951,361.86.
Do I have a motion?
Move it. Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime August 30th, 2019, $53,455.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Pescitti. Can we have a breakout, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, thank you, Council President, again. The total overtime, as Councilwoman Walker indicated, 53,455. There was an uptick in Recreation Department related to summer concert and saltwater day. For the Police Department, the total overtime represented $40,249. There was a deduction for a grant, $204.10. Deduction for ETO, $9,261.50. Net overtime, $30,783.40, representing 663.50 man and women hours. The special event for this pay period in Police Department was Beach Patrol and Saltwater Day, and one officer was injured on duty.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Biscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
That concludes the bill list.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. We're now going to go to the liquor license, LL1. Is the party here this evening? Come forward, please. Good evening. You can sit if you like, whatever you prefer.
How are you?
Good. If you could, it's on green, you're good
It's
to
on
go?
green, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
and if you could identify yourself for the record?
Yeah, my name is Mark Chen from the Corey Oldbridge Group. That we're taking over the liquor license.
Do you want me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chen from Coy Oldbridge Group LLC is going into the Banana Republic store at the shops of Oldbridge. To person, place to place. It's going to be inactive until Mr. Choi and his group have
Yes.
done the renovations.
Yes.
And,
And then we go activate the liquor license.
right,
Yes.
all right. So there are conditions now that, of course, you can't reopen until it's all,
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
know.
Yeah, yep.
okay.
Good to go. Okay.
Until it's good to go.
So
Okay,
this-
we have tax clearance and we're good to go.
You good to go? Okay, so this is a person to place,
Person to person.
I'm
place
sorry,
to
person
place.
to person, place to place, inactive liquor license, transfer number 1209-33-007-007. Oldbridge Holdings 3 LLC to KOI Oldbridge Group LLC. Location is 3801 US Highway 9, Oldbridge, going into Banana Republic store at the shops of Oldbridge.
We need a motion.
Madam President, just for a correction, it should be 007-008.
Eight.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
it had 7 here, okay, so
Yeah.
it's 008,
08,
got it.
right.
Okay, very good. All right,
With the public.
anyone have questions from the council? Okay, so do we have a motion?
Oh, you got to go to
Oh,
public.
John, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
This is going to be a liquor store?
No, it's going to be a full sit-down service restaurant.
Oh, okay, thank
Full
you.
service restaurant, yes.
Move it.
Okay.
Oh, you have to go to the public?
Public, anybody in the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, we'll close public portion. We have a motion, please?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Murphy.
Okay, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, you're good, thank you. Good luck.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next will be public hearing and ordinances for second reading. Ordinance number 2019-14, an ordinance of the Township of Oldbridge amending Section 250-66 of the Township Code Development Fees.
Move it.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing no hands, close the public portion. Dr. Greenberg, did you make a motion?
moved it.
Okay, and a
Second.
second by Mr. Pasquetti.
Nothing from the council.
Okay, council, no
President?
one? Yes.
I don't, what's in Novus is the old ordinance. I don't see the amended, the changes in
Okay.
Novus.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I did
Cahill.
have it, it was put in later on in the day. It should be
Okay.
in there now.
I don't think so. I don't see any updates, I'm sorry. I just see the old, oh, they are in there. I apologize.
That's okay.
I apologize.
Does he need time?
Do you need a few minutes, Mr. Cahill, to look?
I'm looking at it now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good to go? Okay, thank you, Mr. Cahill.
All right, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion shall first sign a list maintained by the Township Clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Colleen and Robert Borosh?
Good evening.
Make it easier for everyone to understand.
Can you,
Bonnie, take
yeah,
those and give
the
them to me, please.
clerk will, yeah. Okay. And if you could just give us your name for the record?
Yes, Colleen Baruch and my
Okay.
husband.
Hi, nice to meet you. You can sit if you like.
Thank you. I'd like to show you.
Is the microphone on?
Yes, I think so. I'd like to show you a picture of our home. Robert and I have lived in this beautiful home in Old Bridge for 34 years in Lawrence Harbor.
All right, we need you on a mic, though, because the TV's not going to pick you up.
Yeah, we want everyone to hear in the public.
Okay. Well, my husband and I have lived in this beautiful home for 34 years. Some of you I know, some of you I know people that know you. People have told me this is the only way my husband and I might get some help. Across the street from our house, if you look through this pack of papers, I put a lot of pictures and letters. You'll see a drainage ditch that belongs to the Township of Old Bridge. It has nothing to do with my property at all. Some years ago, New Jersey Transit came in and they put a new pipe under the railroad tracks because one of the engineers thought that the silt was washing away and the pipe underneath the track would collapse and we would maybe get a derailment because the train goes right by there. Well, as a result, if you look on one of the pages, they built this at the end of the culvert. And for about 30 of the 34 years that we've lived there, my husband has had to maintain this grate, or our beautiful home will flood. Our family room, our 2 garages, 900 square feet floods. I see Pintu is here, and I think Kyle is here from the Township Road Department. The road department has been amazing. When we call, they come if they can, but they can't be there 24 hours a day babysitting the township's drainage situation. Bob and I have put in claims for approximately 7 floods since Hurricane Sandy. Those are only claims. We've had approximately 17 floods in our beautiful home that we did not put claims in for because we have a deductible. And after we pay that deductible, they say, sorry, sorry, you're not going to get paid on this one. We need help. After this flood, I had a little breakdown because the day before I had an epidural procedure done to my back, and I was told to stay in bed. And by golly, that flood came. My husband couldn't get home quick enough. Our township road department, the fire department, the police department, everybody came and watched me like a lunatic crying in my driveway, not again, not again, and said, we can't go back there to move the debris from this grate. We can't do it. But my husband came home from work, jumped out of his truck with his rake and got back there and moved the debris so the water would go through this, and then we had somewhere to put the water again. If water comes in my house, there's nowhere else for it to go. Mr. Merwin's been in our home many, many times. Many times. He knows what I'm up against. But I get the same response. Sorry, lady. They let me calm down after the flood, after Bob ruins another pair of work boots, and then on we go till the next flood. We've gotten up on a Sunday morning, walked down our steps to go in our driveway, to get in our cars to go to church, and step in 6 inches of dirty water because it rained during the night and we didn't know to be there raking away at this ditch. In lightning and thunder, we've been told if he gets hurt back there, they're not responsible, but they will not go back and move the water. Bob has to do it. When Hurricane Sandy came, the water came out of the pipe. We had 4 feet of water in our beautiful home. I'm asking for a pipe. I called the EPA this time because I've been told for years that the EPA will not let a pipe get put into this ditch. I've been told that by our township,
Yeah, yeah.
and the EPA said there's no such thing. They
Right.
never heard.
Okay, well, obviously, it's, we want to get a full picture. It's just that we have a time limit each time. So, no, it's something you're very passionate about, and I understand why you would be. But, as I said, that's something we have to just kind of hold on to the time.
Okay.
But I'm sure that we're going to be able to have someone help you with this and not, have you not leave here.
I need to get this done because my husband and I want to sell our house. We want to move. We've been here 34 years. It's time for another family to come in.
Have
and
you met-
raise a beautiful
Okay.
family like we were blessed to
Have
do.
you met with the township at all?
We've met with everybody.
With the engineering department, with everybody?
Everybody. I mean, it's going to be the EPA or the Army Corps of Engineers or 7 on my side, or it's got to be somebody, because my husband is not well now. He's going to
Okay.
be 70, and he's still working because I can't work,
Okay.
and we just can't do this anymore.
Himanshu, do you have any response?
Yes,
to that
Council
now,
President.
or-
Yeah. I have gone through the communication. In fact, and I think you've been copied on the communication with the DEP about addressing this issue. We also discussed hiring a professional engineering firm. Will be coming to the council to see what we can do to alleviate this problem beyond things, because a lot of this is under control of DEP and Transit, and we have some restriction, but if we get through professional help and come up with a report and analysis that we can present it to them and kind of tie their hands to resolve the issue. So we're not ignoring it, we're working on it, as we speak. And there are some communication already being done. Pinder just sent an email again to the DEP and to the NJ Transit to say they need to be aggressive in maintaining this area. So hopefully we'll get some help and result. But we're also going to pursue our own remedy to see if we can come up with a plan to address it.
Mrs. Chairwoman?
Yes. Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to be cut off, but that is the rules. I'm sure we've looked at it, but you know what? I don't want to try this, try that. I want it done. I mean, was it the EPA you spoke to? You meant the DEP, right? Okay. Yeah, it's got to be done. And you can get them out here. Don't tell me you can't get them out here. You have to almost embarrass them to get them out here, though. Well, something has to be done, or, you know, I would say we keep this on the agenda and until it's taken care of. And I'm sorry if you have to live that way.
So you will keep us updated. It will stay on the radar. We will make sure that we're updated as well so that it doesn't leave the radar. Okay?
Well, I've been on the radar before.
Well,
And
I've
they
never-
pass the blame back and forth. Transit blames Township.
Well, now you brought it here to the council, so we've all met you and now are aware of your situation. So that being said, we will make sure that we stay on top of it as well and we get updated.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. My goodness. Wow. Yeah. Thank you very much.
David Bennett?
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Bennett, and I'm with Bulldog.
Can you put your,
mic.
thank you.
My name is David Bennett, and I'm with Bulldog's Concession Hot Dog. And the reason I was coming in front of the board today is that I have a special event coming up on Route 9 at the, I forget the farm that's over there on Route 9. Cheesequake Farm. And they want me to be there until around midnight because they do the hay rides for the month of October, starting September 27th and ends, I think, November 1st, if I'm not mistaken, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only. And I need special permission to be open till that time because there's an ordinance in town that states that you got to be closed by dusk. I usually don't like to stay open that late, but the farm had asked me, would I do that? And I said I would be pleased to do it, but I would have to go in front of the town council because council is telling me that I can't do something. And the other thing is I want to make it short and sweet. I'm also trying to get down on 34 at the corner of Cottrell Road to open up. I don't plan on being open till midnight over there, so you don't have to worry about that. But at the same aspect, is there any way we could shorten the time? Because it took me 2 months for the last location in Old Bridge just to be turned down because the tenant that the person had at their place was such a mess. The zoning board said that they didn't, agree to it because it wasn't proper for food, which was understand. But now I got more of a, pages to sign people over here. Is there any way to shorten that where I can get on there selling quicker? Because I do have a sick wife, and that's why I figured I'd go in front of the council and see if there was any help you can give me.
Have you had any communication with the different,
I spoke to
Or
the
is-
mayor briefly about this, and he told me to go in front of the council in regards to this.
This is in front of the clerk's office, the license issue, and I think she had communicated all the council member, the restriction that are in, that the rules that are in place in township ordinance. So I'm not sure the council attorney can advise on that, whether there's any special provision I think now he's asking for 1 month is what I hear now. But that wasn't I don't know if that was original request, but I think Stella has done detailed communication to the council.
What time did you say they wanted you to stay until?
They said that for paintball season starting September 27th, it would only be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday,
Well, until what time, please?
about midnight.
Okay, because they called, I believe, today, and they said that they spoke to you, and they said they would maybe consider until 10:30 PM if you went along with the township.
That's
But as
fine.
we explained, let me finish. As we explained to them, we are governed by town ordinances, and what we do for one, we have to do for the other. Dawn till dusk.
Well, here's another thing I'm going to bring up, because if that's the case, how is it that the carnival was able to stay open until late? Okay, is there any special permit that I can get to be able to, for just that 1 month? That's all
As I
I'm-
explained to you when you were in the office, carnivals are governed differently. Carnivals, mass assemblies, it's a different type of a permit. Our hot dog vendors, our ice cream vendors, our food vendors in the cart, with the carts, with the trucks, they are governed under a separate ordinance. That
As far as
ordinance
Route-
is dawn to dusk.
As far as Route 9 goes?
As
I was-
far as any
No,
route
I'm
in
just saying,
Old
Route
Bridge.
9, I was only going to be there for this event, and then
It
that's-
doesn't matter.
Well, is there any way to override this?
No.
Who do I have to see to get this ordinance changed?
Right here. I mean, want to take a vote on it? You could take a
Council
vote on it,
President?
Ken, what is your take on this?
If it's not permitted by ordinance, you have to change the ordinance, so that's something council will have to take under advisement, make a decision whether you want to do that.
But it is a process, and it does take time to do.
if they're willing
Because-
to do it.
If
they're
there's a
willing to do it, it
consensus
does take
among
time.
the council members to do it, then it would take a little
It's
time
a
to do.
discussion, a first reading, a second reading, and then 20 days thereafter. You're looking at about 2
Yeah,
months.
but that's a loss of money to me,
Yeah.
because I got a sick wife, I'm trying to make money, I got myself off of welfare, starting this hot dog cart, and I haven't worked in months, and I'm trying to get myself back going again. And all I'm asking is for this time from the council.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, Mr. Merwin?
under our ordinance for construction equipment and times of construction, there's a variance that the business administrator can issue. Is it just for that, or could it be put, to this?
That's only for the construction. If they're doing a construction in the area, they're going to be late. They need a permit, and the engineering department reviews that. As long as it doesn't affect the community, surrounding community, we do grant those permit, but that's only for the construction.
It's only, that's
Yes.
what I'm asking. All right.
Any other
Madam President?
Dr. Greenberg?
Yeah, I just have a question, so there's some clarity here. So the Cheesequake Farm has fall events. They have high rides, they have this paintball, they have zombie, whatever it is. And so they asked you to provide food, that you could sell food on their farm, and the cart will be on their farm. It's not going to be anywhere near Highway 9 or anything like that.
No, ma'am.
So it's on their farm, and I'm familiar with the farm, and I'm not sure where they wanted you to have the farm. I know
familiar with the farm?
they have pony rides, and they have a petting zoo there during this time, and things like that. So I don't know whether they gave any clarification, and I'm not sure about this. If it's off the road or on a property, is the people who own the farm their responsibility?
I have a map here of where he'll be. I'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
May I speak for a minute?
Which one is Route 9? This one?
Time's up.
Really, you had your moment, we have to let the council discuss, okay? Thank you.
All right, I believe that's Cheesequake.
And it would be where the DB is? Is this it?
That right?
I'm assuming that's where it is.
Okay.
I didn't put that there.
Obviously, we do have ordinances. My question, I don't know, it's a farm and it's many, many acres big. I don't know whether zoning or I mean, I would want the police, to review it, so it's safe where
They
the
have
location
reviewed it.
is. And if it's moved if this is the place and it's deemed not safe, if it was moved somewhere else, I don't know whether the owners of the farm have this, any obligation with this also. That's what I'm just not sure. It's a gray area for me.
Well, as Mr. Bennett stated before, he said they gave him until 1 a.m. We spoke to them today, they said that they would permit him until perhaps maybe 10:30 when they close, that he could not still be there till 1 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, there would be no
you know
one
what?
there. There's no reason to be there.
As I say, I govern by by the ordinances. However, if council wants to look into this further, that would be
No.
up, I'm not familiar with that area of the farm itself. I don't know how it's going to be with people coming off the road to the ordinances. That's not for me to say. That would have to be for the police department.
Exactly, and that's why.
At night, people coming in to get hot dogs, I mean, that's not for me to say.
I didn't know whether it was just for the people. It's not I didn't think it was for passerby on Route 9. It's for the people going to the events, the hay rides, the zombie, things like that. So it's almost like having a food truck come to the event. I'm not really sure. That's why I need input from zoning, from the police and attorney to really determine how I should view this.
Question for the attorney.
Is this, let me ask one question, and I'll, if you wouldn't mind. Is this a private farm?
Ma'am, you said you
I
were
kind of
familiar-
look at it like if someone was having a party at their house and they invited a hot dog cart there, or a lot of times I go to kids' parties and they have like the Good Humor truck there or something like that. That's why now that I see it, that it's on the farm, it just raised these questions to me. And I want to make sure that we get it right, and as a board, that we all comprehend it.
Is there, can someone tell me, is this do they get a permit to do all this, the farm?
The person with the
Person who owns
food
the farm?
bag and- yeah.
No,
But
I'm
no,
saying the
they-
person that owns the farm,
They
do
do.
they need a permit for their hay rides, et cetera, et cetera?
Not from
As a
us.
mass assembly or anything?
Not from us, no. No, nothing like that. They don't come to us for anything
All right.
like that.
The question for the,
Councilman-
yeah. And it's right along the lines that Councilwoman Greenberg is going. We're having this problem because he applied for a hot dog vendor license for that location. If the farm itself was the vendor, would they need a permit?
I think there is a separate rules, and I just asked our zoning officer saying, there is a separate process for right to farm. They have to get there through the state and the county, and they need to file the activity plan with those agencies and with the township. But from my understanding, there is none. There is nothing on file. So we can't give you the answer whether, they need permit for any of these activities. But they may be able to do it under their own process of, right to farm for all these rides and everything, wherever they go, for that period, rather than going through this vendor license. If it goes through vendor license, it's going to have restriction. So something has to be handled by Cheesequake Farm themselves to allow him to be there during the time they're open there.
They have a business there. They sell to the public.
Yeah, but-
sell their goods and everything, so they must have
Some-
kind of operating,
Correct.
I don't think we have licenses for the businesses.
No.
But he's requesting a food license, food vendor license to the township, which has a restriction. So maybe you should go back to Cheesequake Farm, see if they have a rights to allow you to, operate there inside farm. I mean, that's all we can suggest. But under the ordinance,
But when you add, there's still a stipulation because I still have to follow under the Board of Health inspections in the fire department. Okay, even though I'm behind the fence between the red building and outside of a glass area where it's all open, where they're gonna be putting me, which is away from the road, there's no cars that can access me at that point. They'll have tables set up on me for the hot dogs I'm selling, and it's on private property. I'm not gonna be where anybody could pull off Route 9 to come to me.
Chairwoman, if this is under mass assembly, that's 1,000 people. They're not going to have 1,000 people there.
Yeah, no, that's not under the mass assembly. No.
Yeah, my question was basically the same thing because it's private property. The only question I had is he's using propane. So I don't know if there's some sort of regulation for the farm. But I would think that the farm would be able to give him permission to come onto the property, and it shouldn't have to go through our health department, I didn't think.
Excuse me, sir, as far as the propane, before I can even set up where I'm at, once I get at the station where I'm gonna be selling my hot dogs, I spoke to the fire department already. I have to pay them $52 for them to come out, inspect me where I'm at, and then say, yeah, you're fine where you're at on the farm. So I'm following all the rules and the regulations as far as it goes for whatever I need to do between the health department, the fire department, and obtaining my permit to sell in Old Bridge. But all I'm asking you is for a short period of time to turn around and vend a little bit later. Otherwise, I'd be closed, because I don't usually try to stay open late.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're not going to get a permit from the town because you're not within the regulation. So just like the business administrator explained to you, you should go to the farm and get permission from them to be on the farm to do that vendor activity.
Well, I think the farm reached out to them for you to do their event. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, there's definitely a disconnect because he said 1 o'clock in the morning and they're saying 10:30. So there's something.
No, they changed, after I put that paperwork in, I went to see them, and they told me it would be 10:30. So there was a difference on the time, but whatever, even if they closed at 8 o'clock, I would be done by 8 o'clock. As long as I'm trying to keep within that time period they're open, that's all. Once they're closed, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna be there any later.
Really, the council cannot do anything at this moment. Even if the ordinance was changed, it will be a month. Ideally, the Cheesequake Farm should approach and find a way for you to be present and get all the permits under their license and their business license, and then allow you to.
Plus, I gotta claim my own taxes on the money I make. It's all filed under Bulldog's concession. I can't file under Cheesequake.
I think you're just going the wrong route, trying to get the hot dog vendor license. I think like Dr. Greenberg said, it's a private farm. I believe the farm should be allowed to have a vendor there off the road, and you should take that approach. Then you wouldn't have to go get the hot dog vendor license. And, I would, because Cheesequake Farm, they do sell food, so I think you should just go through that, and I don't think you need the hot dog vendor license.
We, as a board, certainly want everything to be safe, so obviously the fire, department, we want the inspection and the Board of Health, but I think the onus is with Cheesequake Farm to make sure everything's copacetic, and I think the both of you should work in unison together, and I don't think, you need, as far as the certificate here from us.
Right.
You don't comply with this ordinance. It's
Farm
totally
should take the
different.
lead. The farm should.
So in other words, because I was gonna be stationary down on the corner of Cottrell Road and Route 34, and you just gave me a list of 40 people I have to go within 500 feet to get signed off in order to get my permit over there. You're telling me I don't need to do that?
Well, that's different. That's still a farm there,
Right.
and they sell food. You have to contact them and get direction from, I would say, the Board of Health. And I don't know as far as with our zoning board or,
That's under
or-
clerk's
or-
office.
He has to notice all around
You have
because
to
there are
notice
food,
everybody.
there are
Right.
food stores
Yeah.
there, Wawa,
Yeah, there
restaurants.
is.
and the people are
This is where
there.
the stipulation is, because I got signed off for Route 9 already, the two people, which is, Berardi is the bigger guy of all the property over there, besides the owner. I have that all signed off already, you know. Bernetti, excuse me. I got all that signed off. So I can get my permit, and just asking to stay open till 10:30 is my main, why I'm here tonight.
Response, sir, is with regard to going through getting a vendor's license, is that even if the council was inclined to change the ordinance so that you could do it, it's going to be too late, all right?
Timeframe is
What,
just.
what council is addressing now is whether, because it's a privately owned property, the farm, if they were to hire you to come on their property and sell hot dogs to the people that came to their hay rides, would be different than you applying for a hot dog vendor's license to sell to the general public on a street corner or in somebody's parking lot, like we see some of these vendors. It's just a different situation. And not that they appreciate you applying for the permit, because that's what they want people to do, but in this particular case, and I will look into it further into our ordinance books, but it seems to me that it's a private property owner that's holding whatever events they are at their farm. And apparently, I don't know it, but they apparently sell food already, so they're already under the health department for them to come out and inspect their kitchens or whatever else. There'd be no reason why they wouldn't come out and inspect your truck while it's there. If the fire department you paid them for that. It sounds to me like it's just a completely different situation. You're not applying to be there all the time. This is an event that's being held on somebody's private property. So as a private property owner, and I would think, but I'll look into this further, that they would be able to hire you, like if I was having having a graduation party for my kids from high school, and I see you got the best hot dogs in town, you come over, put your truck in my backyard, and they eat until they blow up, and whatever it costs me, tell me, right? So it's a private piece of property. It seems to me that they would be able to hire you to do that, to come onto their property and just sell it to people that come to their hayride, okay? You have to work out with them how all of that gets taken care of financially, right? And, but I'll look into it, but it just seems to me this is a different situation than you applying for a vendor's license on a street corner to be there. So now you're going to go to all the property owners to make sure they're okay with it. Police look at it for traffic reasons, et cetera, and then you get granted or don't get granted, okay? This seems to me like it's just a totally different situation. And I don't know if this is a Green Acres property or not. So if it's not, then they're not controlled by Green Acres because they have regulations out the wazoo. So as long as, and right to farm is a whole different area of law.
I tried to reach out to them.
To who?
Right
Green
to
Acres?
Farm- No,
Right to farm?
And Right to Farm turned around and said to me that they have no jurisdiction in this, that it has to deal with the town. So this is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm bouncing between you guys.
Well, look, if right to farm, that's a whole different area of law, and I really don't know it, so I'm not going to speculate on that. I do have some experience with Green Acres, but not right to farm. My partner does, but unfortunately, he's not here tonight. But it just seems to me, let me do some more research, okay? But it seems to me that if it's a privately held piece of property, and they're having an event, they can bring you onto their property. And, if you were selling ice cream, whatever it is, it just seems to me that the intent of the vendor license isn't, I don't think, to control what people can do on their own private property for own specific events. I think it's the intent that to control people pulling up hot dog carts on, 516, and now we got traffic, and accidents and everything else. The whole intent of that permit situation, I think, is different than this. But let me do some research, and we'll get back to you from the
I'm just trying to
administrative.
follow the rules and regulations. of
I
the
know,
town.
and they appreciate that, because that's what they want people to do. But you're kind of caught in the middle of this kind of a situation, where even if they were inclined to change the whole ordinance, it's going to be too late. So it's not like they can go ahead and just give you a variance on it.
Okay.
You know, because you do it for one, you got to do it for all, and then it becomes unenforceable.
Yeah, I'm also a veteran, so I'm trying to do the right thing.
Yep.
And take care of my family.
That's why he's gonna.
Let me look and see what I can find out for you, and we'll get back to you on it,
All right, I
okay?
appreciate your time.
Yeah, no,
Counsel.
thank you for coming.
Took a little bit extra time of yours.
No worries.
Do me a favor and inquire with the people that own the farm.
Yes,
okay?
start there.
Because you may have to work something out with them, you know, as far as being paid and how you're
Oh,
being
I
paid.
already figured out how.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, no, that's it.
It's a whole different entity, though. That's why.
Anyone else have?
No, that's it for now.
Okay, then,
Thank you.
we'll, no, this is,
There was a fire department effort outside for keeping people from coming in the Jackson.
For what?
And we had to ask if it was safe to come into
They can come, we have another.
we have a
They were in a
portion at
senior
the end
center,
where you
not-
can,
They had to do with the senior center, and I believe they addressed that. There is no safety concern in this building.
But I think what she's saying is that she was restricted from coming in, so she couldn't actually put her name on the list to comment. So I think there should be an allowance for that.
That's up to council to make that decision.
well, what is council's feelings on it?
I'm fine with it, of course.
Okay. Are we going to allow it or not?
Yes.
Yes, there's council
But
comments
we have
at
to
the
be
end.
fair, and if someone wasn't allowed to enter the building and they couldn't sign their name on the list, then we have to also take that into consideration. I was actually late because I was told that we couldn't come in because of the buildings being so close to each other. They were having police and everyone come.
Okay, well, the other thing is this, how many people then are going to have the same issue?
Why don't we get a show of hands?
Excuse me, that's what I'm saying, can we have a
Okay.
show of hands? That's what I wanted to know. How many people are
Ask.
going to have the same issue as the young lady that was there? So 2 people? Okay, so then I'll allow the 2 people, and then we're going to close the public comments. You may come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Kendall Carton. I live at 2 Cressida Drive in Old Bridge in the Lake Ridge West community. I'm here tonight in response to the claim by council members on the August 5th council meeting that non-citizens have no constitutional rights. It didn't hit me right, so I took the time to investigate your claims. And what I find may surprise you, my response and what I'm about to say is based on the constitutional rights of non-citizens by Ilya Somin, who's a law professor at George Mason University. Immigration restrictions sometimes claim that non-citizens have no rights under the Constitution, and that the U.S. government is therefore free to deal with them in whatever way it wants, and at least a general rule, it's not true. Non-citizens have a wide range of rights under the Constitution. Indeed, within the borders of the United States, they have most of the same rights as citizens do. And longstanding Supreme Court precedent bans most state laws discriminating against non-citizens. The First Amendment prevents the government from censoring non-citizens' speech or suppressing the practice of their religion. The Fourth Amendment protects them against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Fifth Amendment ensures that non-citizens' property can only be taken by the government for public use and only if just compensation is paid. Should a non-citizen be charged with a crime, he's exactly the same Fifth and Sixth Amendment procedural rights as a citizen, including the right to a jury trial, the right to counsel, and protection against self-incrimination. If convicted, the Eighth Amendment prevents the government from subjecting aliens to cruel and unusual punishment in exactly the same ways as it does with citizens. The Constitution reserves a few rights for citizens alone, most notably the Privileges and Immunities Clause of Article 4, Section 2, and the Privileges or Immunities Clause of the 14th Amendment both protect the privileges and immunities of U.S. citizens against various types of interference by state governments. The Second and Ninth Amendments indicate that the rights they protect are those of the people. While the Supreme Court has never addressed this issue, lower courts have disagreed over whether the people are entitled to Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms, includes non-citizens, especially undocumented immigrants. So that's still out there. That a few constitutional rights may be specifically reserved to citizens underscores the broader principle that the vast majority are not. There would be no need to specify such a reservation if the Constitution had a default rule limiting rights to citizens. In reality, the vast majority of rights outlined in the Constitution are phrased as general limitations on government power, not special protections for a specific class of people, be they citizens or some other group. Not only does the Constitution grant non-citizens most of the same rights as citizens, but longstanding Supreme Court precedent also forbids many state laws discriminating against aliens. In such cases as Bernal and versus Fainter in 1984, the court had ruled that laws discriminating on the basis of alienage are subject to strict scrutiny. That is, they will be struck down unless the government can prove that they are narrowly tailored to the promotion of a compelling state interest. Longstanding Supreme Court precedent also forbids many state laws discriminating against aliens. Under that doctrine, courts have invalidated state laws excluding non-citizens from entering various professions, including becoming lawyers. Bernal, for example, struck down a Texas law preventing non-citizens from becoming notaries public. An important exception to the principle applies to laws excluding aliens from political functions, such as voting and holding elected office. These court decisions restricting discrimination against aliens have a substantial basis in the 14th Amendment. Representative John Bingham, one of the principal framers of the amendment, emphasized that one of the purposes of the amendment was to ensure that all persons, whether citizens or strangers within this land, shall have equal protection in every state in this union in the rights of life and liberty and property. While the framers were especially concerned with ending discrimination against African Americans, they also sought to curb growing state discrimination against immigrants. State governments are also forbidden to discriminate against immigrants based on national origin. In a recent high-profile decision, a federal court struck down an Indiana policy enacted by then-Governor Mike Pence that denied state services to Syrian refugees that were made available to refugees from other nations. The court ruled that this practice was national origin discrimination forbidden by the 14th Amendment, its decision later upheld by appellate court.
Unfortunately, your time is up.
So
Okay.
when you uphold
Thank
your
you.
oath to the Constitution.
Excuse me.
remember these-
Thank you. No, John, there's no conversation. This is the public's time to speak. One more gentleman, and then we're closing the public. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. My name is Danny Sikowski, 47 East Alton Place. So when you go to a restaurant, sometimes when you have, or all the time when you have very bad service, you always say that you have bad service. When you have good service, it's very seldom that gets to the manager. So I just wanted to come today and let you all know that as somebody who's lived in Old Bridge since 2003, somebody who has gone through the school system here, I'm very happy. I'm very active on social media, and I see a lot of pictures of like the mayor's office of economic development, and I see all these new businesses coming and the ribbon cutting stuff, and I think that's really cool that a lot of businesses are coming here. It makes my life easier, and it keeps me here in Old Bridge, especially as somebody who works outside of Old Bridge. I go out of my way to try to get gas in Old Bridge, do my food shopping in Old Bridge, and you know, this guy that came earlier and was talking about his restaurant, I heard that it's going to be a hibachi restaurant, and that makes me very excited because, you know, that's something that I love to go to. And I also saw pictures floating around the past couple days with the mayor and some council members that they were cleaning up the beaches. So I just wanted to say it's very nice to see you guys out and active in the community doing stuff. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing more of that and seeing you guys at Old Bridge Day and, you know, being out and about. It's really nice as a member of this community. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
We close the public portion, and now we will go to council member comments. Anyone on my left? Mr. Murphy?
That letter that she was referring to, that's for people on visas and stuff like that. She never said the word illegal aliens, and that's said many times by even the governor. So you can't compare the citizens here. Yes, of course, if they're on vacation, they're living somewhere, they're entitled to everything we have. If they're here illegally, it's illegal. If it's illegal, they have no right to any of our constitutional rights.
All right, anyone else on my left for a council comment?
Yes. Yes. So, very briefly, someone by the name of Catherine Roth, R-O-T-H is her last name, sent me an email on August 6th after the August 5th meeting. I give a little bit of detail about it because it talks about black people playing the race card. It insults me personally, and whoever this person is, I don't know if they live in Old Bridge or not, or if someone sent them to send this email to me. I hope they're watching, hope they're listening, because I did respond to their email, and just for anybody else who wants to send me such an email, go right ahead, but you'll quickly be directed to take your nonsense somewhere else. As everyone up here says what they want to say, I'm entitled to do the same thing. I will not be cut off. I won't be shamed. I have feelings, just like everyone else does. I have heard people come up here and insult each other, be discriminating to each other, and I did not do that at the August 5th meeting. So I'm just going to give you a quick blurb of what she said. She goes on to tell me that she has had students of my race, and when they were failing, she heard them say similar nonsense to what I said, and that black people never open up a book and they never come for help. They just expect to be passed. And she also goes on to say, I do not refer this to all African Americans, but I believe that you Democrats and you African Americans preach diversity and acceptance. She also goes on to reprimand me. I think she believes she's reprimanding me, but she's unfortunately wrong. And goes on to say things about myself and my behavior and called me disgusting. And again, I just wanted to put Catherine Roth out here and let everyone know that that's an email I got from her. And she can send me another one and she will get the same response. I will not tolerate bullying. I will not tolerate harassment. And I can say whatever I feel like saying, just as everyone else does. And if you don't like it, then don't watch and don't come. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on my left? Anyone on my right? Wait, I'm sorry, did I miss somebody? Mr. Merwin, go right ahead.
The street lights out here in the parking lot, how long are we going to be without them on half the parking lot? It's only been like 5 years now, right? 6 years? There you go.
Yeah, Public Works has identified several lights that have burned out, possibly lightning strike in the area, and I know engineering's also working on with their electrical contractor to get that work completed as well. You have any comment, Pinder?
Yes, I believe you have the lights. I believe you have the lights in Public Works. I seen you changing some of the lights recently.
Yes, like I said, they've been installed, and we identified this morning several of them that have been burned out. The balances possibly, so we're working to get those fixed.
These aren't burnt out, they're brand new. From the corner in, past the ice arena, along the parking lot there, into where the bus stop is. There's like 6 or 7 of them now.
Like I said, we had possible lightning strike recently that took out some of the lights.
Okay.
Are you through, Mr. Merwin? Okay. Anyone on my right? Dr. Greenberg?
Okay. I've been speaking to a lot of residents, and a lot of them, of course, always talk about taxes. And as you know, this year we had a 0 municipal tax increase on the municipal side. Unfortunately, with the Board of Ed, they had an increase on, well, tax with the Board of Ed. And much of this stemmed from Governor Murphy when he cut state funding. It created a lot of turmoil, and the governor also did this at an inappropriate time. The budget was already formulated by the Board of Ed, and then he came after it. They had their budget and voted on it, and then unfairly took away millions of dollars. And he didn't make it common knowledge till after it was done. But I'm happy to say that with the township, from the municipal side and the Board of Ed, that we have areas that we have shared services. And one of the most important is the security in the schools. And in fact, the program that was put forward in Old Bridge with the police department, administration, and the Board of Ed is actually a pilot program for many other districts throughout the entire state. And we've been recognized for that. We have shared services with Lombardi Field, maintaining the track. We put, for Gike Park, the township expended the money, the capital improvements, and put an artificial turf for the soccer fields that everyone gets to enjoy, and the schools use that. Also, as far as a lot of people don't know, but we saved the Board of Ed, and we have this shared service where they purchase their gas from us for their buses and their vehicles, and it saves a lot of money for them. As far as Menino Park, we maintain that, and we've improved it. In fact, the Girls Softball League uses Menino Park for their games. Also, the ice arena, we just did a major capital improvement in there, and the high school the team uses that. The elementary schools go over and use, can sign up and use the facility, the arena, at no charge. They have programs for the kids come over. The special needs uses the arena. Also, as far as the before and after care program, that's another shared services between the township and the Board of Ed. And basically, obviously, the school provides the building. We provide, during that time, janitorial service, and also we staff it. We have the manpower for that, and we pay for the security. And then the children can be in a supervised, safe environment. So I wanted to say that because a lot of times people don't realize how we do care about every person in this town, in the school, and we are always, as administration and a council, looking for ways to reach the school. How can we help? What can we do to help to get things done that really saves money for the school, which in turn is for every taxpayer, every resident in this town. And a lot of work goes into these programs, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen by luck. It happens because of hard work and paying attention to every detail across this town to get things done. And a lot of times, people aren't aware of these things, and I felt when I hear the rhetoric back and forth, I can say that we've worked very hard to have a 0 municipal tax increase. And it's funny to say a 0 increase, it's 0. And with the school, really, that has a lot to do with Governor Murphy cutting their budget after the fact that they created their budget. So we are reaching out and always trying to work together, and I think everyone in Old Bridge is better for it. And I hear all over town, when we walk around door to door, people say how proud they are that their kids graduated from Old Bridge High School and they went on to wonderful universities and have bright futures. And that's what we want for our student body in this town. And we want to work in unison and continue to do more projects together and be cognizant of the needs of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on my right for a council comment? Okay, seeing no hands, I'll close the council comments by just thanking the Cultural Arts Committee, Rosemary Reveley, and the people who were on that committee. They did a wonderful job this summer. They had so many concerts in the park. They were really phenomenal, and I just wanted to say thank you to those volunteers. They took a lot of time and effort to make sure that we had some really great entertainment this summer. So thank you very much. The report of the Township Clerk.
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Report of the Township Attorney.
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Administrative report, Mr. Shah.
Thank you, Council Presidents. The administrative report of September 9, 2019. Item 1, grand opening in Old Bridge. The Mayor's Office of Economic Development celebrated grand openings of 3 new businesses in August: Bright Future Preschool, Cairo Plus Wellness Center, and Code Ninja Computer Programming. That was really interesting place those visited. For more information on economic development opportunity, please call 732-721-5600 extension 7920 or email obedo@oldbridge.com. Item number 2, silver lining at Old Bridge. Mayor Owen Henry kicked off National Senior Center Month at the Township's award-winning Silver Lining at Old Bridge on Friday, September 6, 2019, along with mayoral proclamation designating September as National Senior Center Month. The event highlighted special events planned for the month. More information about Senior Center Month is available by calling extension 6600 or at oldbridge.com/silverlinings. Item number 3, Fall Recreation Program. The Parks and Recreation Fall Brochure is now online, and registration will open on September 11, 2019 at 6 p.m. for residents only. Please review the brochure on our website, oldbridge.com/recreation, to see the offering for sports program, Camp Robin, dance classes, and more. For additional information, please contact Parks and Recreation Office at extension 4110. Item number 4, Old Bridge Day. The 24th Annual Old Bridge Day will be held on Saturday, September 21st, 2019, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the Municipal Complex. In recognition of Township's 150th anniversary, the celebration will feature live band performance all day, plenty of giveaways, and many vendors offering craft, toys, clothing, and accessories. There will also be a food court. The Township Parks and Recreation, Police, Fire, Public Works Department, along with Municipal Utility Authority, will be displaying their vehicle and large construction equipment, allowing kids to climb and explore. In addition to the Calvary Motorcycle Club will be on site for pictures with motorcycles. Parking will be available at Carl Sandburg Middle School, and crossing guard will be provided. Parking also is available at Old Bridge High School, and shuttle will run every 15 minutes. For more information, contact Parks and Recreation at extension 4110 or consult our website. Item number 5, parking permit. Residents are reminded to renew their parking permits. All permits expires on September 30, 2019. They can be renewed at online at buymypermit.com/oldbridge or in person at the Township Clerk's office. Item number 6, Old Bridge Arts. The Culture Arts Committee is pleased to announce the formation of new Old Bridge Choir, a multi-generation chorus that consists of talented residents of all ages. The choir is currently rehearsing for upcoming appearance around town. For additional information about choir or if you're interested in auditioning, please contact Culture Arts at extension 2060. Item number 7, 2018 Property Tax Reimbursement Program. The filing deadline for 2018 Property Tax Reimbursement Program, also known as the Senior Freeze, is Thursday, October 31st, 2019. For first-time applicants, the application is available in the tax collection office on the first floor of the Thomas English Administration Building. For additional information regarding the reimbursement program, residents should contact the New Jersey Division of Taxation at 800-882-6597 or the Office of Tax Collectors at extension 2999. 2016 Homestead Rebate Program. With the adoption of State of New Jersey's fiscal year 2020 budget, Eligible homeowners who receive homestead benefit credits on their May 2019 tax payment will receive an additional benefits on their November tax payment. The additional 2016 homestead rebate will be applied to the fourth quarter of tax payment due in November 2019. Revised tax bill for qualified homeowners were mailed out the week of August 26, 2019. For additional information, residents should contact New Jersey Division of Taxation at 888-238-1233 or the Office of Tax Collector at extension 2999. Item number 9, recycling. Residents are encouraged to download the free Recycling Coach app for the latest recycling news available on your smartphone. It contains curbside recycling reminders, scheduling changes, storm alerts, and more. For additional information, please contact Recycling Coordinator at extension 6107 or email recycling@oldbridge.com. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Council President, I would just like to add another item. This Wednesday is our 9/11 ceremony at 6 o'clock, rain or shine. We'll be at our monument.
Right, Wednesday.
So please, I encourage all residents to attend.
Right, Wednesday evening, and it starts at 6?
6, yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Move it.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Anyone have any questions for Mr.
Oh,
Shaw?
sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Pischetti does.
Yeah, hi. Mr. Shaw, you didn't mention anything about the library dedication. That coming up?
That's correct. I did miss it. The dedication of library, naming of library to honor former Mayor Art Haney. It's on September 22nd, on Sunday, September 22nd, at, I believe it's 10 a.m.? 12 a.m., 12 p.m.
12 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at noon.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Next is our consent agenda. I would ask for a motion and a second. I'll take it out to the public and bring it back for separations. Moved by Mr. Rizzoli. Okay.
He moved
Yeah,
it too.
yeah, right. And second by Dr. Greenberg Belli. Mark, if you're out there, ha. Does anyone from the public wish to be heard on any of the consent agenda items? Seeing no hands, I will close the public and now ask for council separations. On my left?
C4, C19.
Anyone else on my left for a separation? On my right? Dr. Greenberg?
C10.
Anyone else for a separation? Seeing no hands, then we'll go with the motion for the balance.
Move it.
Second.
It was already.
Greenberg and Mr. Murphy. Okay. For the balance, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
C4, Mr. Merwin.
Yes. This change order here has several components to it. One is $49,300 for the top coat at the YMCA. You have $16,100 for miscellaneous, I guess, additional charges. And then you have the Ferry Road, Kentfield Road intersection for $38,000. My question is to the attorney. Believe me, I'm glad that the MUA sought out prices from the town. I'm just hoping that it was done legally on either part, whether it was the MUA or whether we did it right in the township. And the reason I asked this question is because we have C4 asking us to approve a change order. And then at the bottom at C19, we have a resolution to approve that change order, or to enter into the shared agreement. Now, the only problem is the job's already been done, and we haven't even approved it. And, you know, so there were my questions, whether, I mean, definitely the $38,000 would fall within a bid thing. And I don't know what legalities they would have to do before they could get it to come onto our change order. But,
The process on a shared services, and that's a C19, it's a.
wait a minute. Do you have ESQ after your name? I asked the
All right,
attorney.
here we,
I'm sorry.
all right, here we go. Welcome to Old Bridge. Here we go. Okay.
Mr. Shaw, do you have information on the, was it one of these an emergency?
Now I can speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
C19, in technical terms, should have been before the C4, but since we always approve consent agenda, all the items, and we didn't want to make it, we talked about that this afternoon to say, do we want to change it or we leave it that way, but we can explain that. So the C19 is the resolution approving shared services, which helps OBMUA save money, correct? So I think that's a good approach, and those are legal practices to do, in my view, as a chief financial officer of the Township of Old Bridge, I believe it's inappropriate that we do share services. It's actually encouraged by the state. Now, OBMUA has already passed that. Their meeting was earlier. Our meeting was a couple of days behind. And sometimes some of this change order, they do take place by the engineers. They have some leeway to get it done because the contractor is on site, savings money. He doesn't have to remobilize. So I don't believe that they're totally in violation of things. Generally, we like to bring it to the council, get an approval, and then follow that done. But because the contractor was available, getting it done, and in fact, you had called me, this is an urgent matter, and I thought it was appropriate to get it done because we're going to get that, put it on the agenda and a council approval, and I believe it's a good thing to do. So that was the reason that it was completed. An engineer did talk to me about it, requested that he's authorized to go ahead and do it, and I did permit him to go ahead and do it. So that's my explanation.
Also, I'd just like the council answer the attorney, yes, it was. Ken, it was an emergency. It was a main road, main intersection. There was barricades up for a number of days. It was the result of a water main break, which could have not been predicted. So it was in the best interest of the residents to get that intersection paved and back in service. There was turning lanes that were.
Wait a minute, we're going to say that this was an emergency?
Yes.
This was over 2 months.
Absolutely not.
No? Oh, no? The water main break was July what?
9th.
9th. And the job was fixed in August what? Well, a month and a half.
We wanted to get it done.
Okay, yeah. Listen, I'm all for saving of the money. I just think that we should go through the proper process. My question is still, was it, because it fell within the bid threshold, it should have been done differently, and it wasn't. That's my question. That's all.
Madam
I'm
President.
glad it was done. I'm glad because that's what I was calling for, because it was taking so long. It was not done. When the winter was coming, school's coming. So, very good. Thank you.
Are you through, Mr. Merwin? Yes. And I think you owe Mr. Shaw an apology for the way you spoke to him.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Excuse me, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, no, I don't. Thank you.
Okay.
I did not ask him to.
Excuse me, the We had just had a conversation about not speaking ill of each other or, misbehaving, so to speak. Well, that lasted about 6 seconds. Okay, Mr. Pescetti.
Thanks. There was some more information about that. The MUA went out for bid to get that emergency repair done, and their bids were $15,000 more than what our township guy
Yes,
did. And that was
correct.
part of the decision, right?
If they had gone out.
They're going to
and-
reimburse us.
Well, they're fully paying every cost associated with that, yes.
Right.
That's what the shared services agreement does, is make sure that MUA pays it. But some of the delay that MUA had was they were trying to figure out, they had to go out to bid, put all the bid specs and everything. And I'm just relaying what I was speaking to the executive director, and the OBMU engineer expressed to me, saying that, they were delayed because they had to prepare the bid specs, and they were trying to find a vendor. Their limit on the bid threshold is 17,500, so they couldn't accomplish this even if they wanted to use our vendor directly. And so there is a procedurally got a little bit delayed. But yes, it's substantial savings, and that's why we thought it's a good idea where we do this thing.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and the MUA is paying for the resurfacing.
Yes.
So it doesn't cost the town anything, and we did them a solid. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else for a council comment?
We need a vote on, a motion on C4, please.
Yeah, so we need a motion now on C4 if there's no other comment.
Move it.
Okay. Wait, John, do you have a comment? It's all right, I
Yeah.
just wanted to
That's
finish up.
okay. The reason it was done that way was the equipment was out there. If we had to do it and put the equipment in, bring the equipment in later, we would have lost that $15,000 savings. So we figured that was the most important thing, and it worked out very well. It was all done in one day, and everything was perfect. And I thank you for doing that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murphy. So we had a motion by Dr. Greenberg Belli, a second by Mr. Rizzoli? Okay.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be C10. Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes, this will be brief. What this is about is canceling outstanding checks. And when I read through the list that we had, I was happy to see that there were no employee checks on there. And I know a lot of people weren't fond of having the direct deposit, but I could say this is one of the things that the Township was trying to avoid, because every time when we had these outstanding checks, it was really to employees. They would get their check, and I don't know whether misplace it, went through the wash, the laundry, or whatever, and it would take time till this list came up that they would, be able to recoup their funds. A lot of times, for some reason, they didn't even realize it. So it was very refreshing to see that no employee went without their pay for their hard work. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else for a comment on this? I need a motion.
I'll move it.
Second? Second. Moved by Dr. Greenberg.
Second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Please.
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
C19, Mr. Merwin.
We need to vote on it.
We had gone over this already. I just think the timing of it was wrong. I mean, it should even probably be, what's those legal terms, Mr. Attorney? Non-pro-tunct or something? This is after the fact. That is my question. That was my question all along, is, that we did it after the fact,
Make a motion to move it?
If anybody else has nothing else to say, I'll move it.
Second.
Mr. Merwin moved it.
Second, Mr. Pescetti.
Moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti? Yes. Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, there are no ordinances for first reading, so we will proceed to public comment on any subject matter. Is there anyone in the audience would like to be heard? Come forward, please. Good evening. Yep. Or you could sit, whatever you like. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ainal Chamet. I live at 10 Utah Drive in Cheese Creek Village. I'm here in reference to the park and ride. It's a little untidy and disheveled as usual. Winter's coming. We had a couple very bad storms. I almost lost my car in the water. We need to get that drain clean where the fair booth is. After the storm, all the silt and everything was there for days. We couldn't even get to the machine because there was so much dirt there. And down the walkway. Down the walkway, we used to have some like small railroad ties or 2x6s, 2x4s. They're all broken. Some of them are still there, which is dangerous because you can't see it coming down there at night and everybody's in a hurry stepping over. That needs to be fixed before the weather gets really cold. And the ticket machine, some days you go, it's taking dollars. The next day you go, it's taking only quarters. The next day you go, it's not taking anything because it's full and it closes off. I saw a new gentleman servicing it. He was servicing it a morning. When we are going to New York, we don't have time for anything but putting that machine in there and getting on that bus. The machine, the money should not be picked up, in my view, during the commuter rush hour. That needs to be changed, or the machine needs to be fixed. Sometimes you put the dollar in, it doesn't take it, you gotta go back, get quarters. It's a mess. It needs to be serviced properly, and I saw a new gentleman fixing it, and he was in a car or something or the other, I don't remember the exact name, but he said he was servicing it and collecting the money. The other thing is where the handicap parking is, there are 2 spots left in that row. Is there any possibility of making those other 2 spots, handicap spots? We have so many people now, I have a back problem, and sometimes when I accident, I'm dragging, and I could never get a park because I go to work late. If I'm not in there by 7:30, 7:45, I'm doomed. I have to park down in the corner. I don't know if it would help me, because if you open 2 more spots, somebody else will still beat me to it, but at least I may stand a chance if somebody's out today. So I don't know if that's the possibility of giving us those other 2 spots.
We'll look into that. In terms of paying, I mean, there's other options. We have a mobile app. If you're using smartphone, you can pay using mobile app, and you don't have to wait in line, which is the convenient. Unfortunately, these machines, equipment, they could fail, and that was a concern we always had, going from honor box system to the machine. But I think along with the smartphone app, which saves time, money to pretty much everyone, that's why we chose this route. And I think mostly, generally, it was worked very well.
Yeah, I'm old school. I don't mind putting my dollar in there. And there's no line. It's just that the service, sometimes you go, and I'm not the only person, it's not taking quarters, it's not taking dollars. And I think it's because it's not service, for the amount of people that put money in it, it's not service. And then when I did see the guy, he couldn't get the door closed in the morning. So me and 2 other people, we had to just go, and he made a note of it, because I said straight, I don't want to come and see a ticket on my car for $60. So. But I think if there's any picking up of the fare, it should be done after rush hour.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you for your comments. They were very appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to be heard this evening? Seeing no, yes, someone? Okay. Good evening.
Roseanne Andrews, 7209 Falston Circle. I live in Plaza Grande, as you know. There's been a lot of work being done on 9 and Spring Valley Road. hopefully, is that the traffic light, or is that the hotel getting more lines in?
We were told it is, the traffic light is coming in the beginning of October,
Okay, because,
from our assembly people.
because once again, there were a lot of accidents
Yes.
on 9.
No, no.
That place is an accident waiting to happen.
We agree 100%.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good evening. Anyone else in the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion for this evening. So we'll have a discussion. It's D1, amending Old Bridge Township Code to consolidate the neighborhood commercial CN zone with the Economic Development Opportunity EDO 1. Good evening.
Okay, no problem.
Good evening.
Good evening. As you may recall,
If you can just give your names for the people watching at home.
sure, Veena Savan, Township Planner.
Damian Gill, zoning officer. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, as you may recall, we were here in front of the council at the beginning of the year with amendments to the Economic Development Opportunity Zone. And what triggered that amendment was that the zoning officer, myself, we were getting calls from various businesses asking us if a business is permitted in the zone. And most of the times, we would go through the list of permitted uses, and we would see that the use is not listed, and we would say, it's not permitted, although we felt that some of those uses were appropriate for the zone. So we started reviewing the entire land development ordinance. Something that we found is the ordinance still is based on North American industrial standards, which are hyper-specific. So if there is a use, or the newer uses, if they're not listed, then they're not permitted. And so most of the times we were sending these businesses to the zoning board. So what we did is we reviewed the EDO, we created new definitions. For example, we created retail sale and services. So whether you're selling an ice cream, cookies, pet supplies, or books, you're covered under retail sale and services. We crafted personal services, so hair salons, beauty parlors, cleaners were covered under personal services. What that made is it relaxed the EDO zone. It allowed more users to come in. At the time when we were working on the EDO zone, we obviously knew that there are other non-residential zones in the township that need to be looked at too. You can't just change the uses for one zone and leave the rest of the non-residential zones. And actually, while we were working, we did get a lot of calls on the neighborhood commercial zones where we were asked, is a pet store permitted? And I would say yes. Is grooming permitted? No, because it's not listed in there. So when we had dealt with the EDO, what we did is it covers, like grooming was covered under retail sale and services because it's retail service. And then we added kenneling, pet stores were covered under retail sales. So we had already tackled it kind of. So that's why we jumped on to this next zone, the neighborhood commercial zone. And before I get into why we are proposing to consolidate, I just wanted to make a comment that when I looked at the zoning map of Old Bridge, one thing I noticed is we have a lot of zones. We have almost 34 zones, not including overlays that were created. And under commercial, we have neighborhood commercial, we have community commercial, we have EDO, we have regional commercial, but most of them have the same purpose. And the purpose is to provide or to promote retail services that cater directly to the residents of the neighborhood. So, but then I started looking at, maybe we can consolidate. But when I was reviewing zoning or other zoning board applications, I also noticed that even in the residential zones, there are a lot of existing development patterns that don't really conform to the zoning standards, and and that would be the next step. But I think it's most important to first cover all commercial zones and then move on to examining residential zones. Now, what I have in front of you is a comparison between the CN zone and the EDO1 zone, because when I started reviewing properties in the neighborhood commercial zone, I realized that one, the purpose of both these zones is exactly identical. The neighborhood commercial zone, the purpose is that to establish areas which will provide convenient shopping for general neighborhoods in which they are located. The lot area and permitted uses are intended to be small in operating scale to serve the needs of the immediate neighborhood conveniently without attracting regional traffic. If you move on to the EDO1 zone, it is more wordy, but the intention is the same, that you want to promote small-scale retail uses that cater directly to the residents of the neighborhood. Next slide. The map which is on the screen actually shows CN zone in green and EDO1 zone in blue. And what you will notice is the neighborhood commercial zone is mostly located along English Town Road. English Town Road also has EDO1 zone. Similarly, we have EDO1 zone and CN zone along 516. We have EDO1 zone along Route 34. There's a tiny section at the intersection of Matawan Road and Morristown Road. And then there is CN zone that is also along Route 35. Next slide. Comparison between the two, I already discussed the location. Both these zones are characterized by small-scale retail uses, and they both provide for retail services to the residents in the immediate neighborhood. These are some of the pictures. On the first left is Highway 516. I believe that's the Forno restaurant, which was in front of the planning board. To the right is intersection of Jake Brown and 516. The second one is English Town Road, the diner, which is in the CN zone. Then we have the Montessori, which is in the EDO1 zone along English Town Road. Then to the bottom is Harbor Plaza, which is on Highway 35, a similar configuration, similar setbacks to what we have at Park Plaza Marketplace on Route 34. Next slide. Here are the bulk standards, and that's the real meat of it, and why we thought it's a good idea to consolidate the CN zone and EDO1 zone. So if you look at this chart, this is the zoning schedule or the bulk standards for these two zones. The minimum lot area for both these zones is 1 acre. The side yard, the total side yard, rear yard, maximum building height, the landscape area ratio, setbacks for accessory uses, everything is exactly the same. The only two places where it differs is the front yard setback and the floor area ratio. But remember, to begin with, the original EDO zone had a 50-foot setback just like the CN zone. But when we amended our EDO zone in March, what we did is we maintained the 50-foot setback as the maximum front yard setback, but then we added minimum front yard setback. And the reason we did that is we still want to maintain the landscape buffer along street highways, but we want to avoid a sea of parking. So now we have minimum front yard setback with the landscape buffer, and then you have the maximum setback, which was already in there. We didn't tweak that. So if you look at it, it's still the same. It's still consistent with the existing CN zone. Now with the FAR, the landscape area ratio is what really determines the impervious coverage. The floor area ratio is to do with the building footprint. And the parking, the required parking really dictates how much of a building you can put. Because if you want to propose a 10,000 square feet building on a 1 acre property, but if the parking that is required for that use is not available, then more than likely you will be turned down. So parking plays an important role. So with the EDO1 zone, there's a slight increase in the FAR, but it really does not change the characteristic of the neighborhood, or it doesn't bring in a huge change in the building footprint. So we recommend that the CN zone be consolidated with the EDO1 zone. Just like the CN zone, we will be looking at the community commercial zone, the regional commercial zone at a later stage. But in this case, if we consolidate the two zones, one, it will offer more flexibility in the type of uses that are permitted. We can avoid sending some of these businesses to the zoning board for a use variance. Actually, I have Damien with me so that he can share some of his experiences, because he's the one who actually faces challenges when businesses call him to ask him if the use is permitted.
There's no challenges in the zoning office. Good evening. I think the biggest takeaway from this conversation, and I think future conversations we're going to have about making proposed changes to the land development ordinance, is that the NICS classification system, or the NICS, is a hyper-specific codification system. It was really more for census tracking, to be able to identify the different uses. When you had gentlemen who were very specific selling stamps and others selling books, but as the times change, we have big box retail now, and the leap from there to here has a lot of nuances in between. And what winds up happening with the classification system we currently have is semantic battles, fights over things that really seem impractical. We have uses that we can retail some things, but then other things not so much. And I think the things that, as a municipality, we would be concerned with are regulated under other things like alcohol, things like tattooing. There are other regulations in place, and really who's hurting are businesses that are just nuanced, and so nuanced that the code hasn't caught up to address those types of uses. And some of them are not even that new. The NICS classification system is from the 70s, so I think it's about time we give it a shake-up. One of the things that we noticed, and I think ultimately what Vina and I decided, was the CN is probably the fastest zone that we can make the most impact because of how similar it is to the newly adopted and amended EDO1 zone. We could present this to the council, and if the council thought it was a good idea, get an ordinance before you so that we can stop not only sending applications and prospective businesses to the board, but losing out on businesses that might not have the wherewithal or the stomach for it, because there are other municipalities a little bit more advanced or progressive in their thinking, when really that's not the case. The code's just been changed. I think that we've made a lot of strides towards improving business relationships. I know the business administrator was talking in his report about some new businesses, and that's what we're trying to do. I think this gives us reasonable and responsible flexibility with the code, allows us to bring in new and dynamic places, and when someone comes in with an innovative idea, we're not going to send them to the board just because we didn't think of it first. So that's really what we've got for you guys this evening. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah, so what, are you thinking about rolling CN into EDO or rolling EDO into CN? What are you going to rename it to?
We will be consolidating.
Into the EDO1.
EDO1.
Okay, so what happens with the, like the side yard? So you would just take all the CN zones and make them EDO1s?
That's correct. And if you look at the chart that we have up now, the only real impact is to the front yard setback for the principal structure, the the FAR for the principal structure, and then the accessory structure. But what you might notice is that they're all lesser standards. They're more relaxed standards that we think more appropriately address existing development patterns and development patterns going forward that will be able to fully utilize the property without...
Yeah, I like what you did with the front yard minimum and maximum setbacks. I like that. But when you go down to the, the side yard, the CN zone has a 50-foot and the EDO has a 25-foot.
So to answer that, I actually went through the list of properties that are under the CN zone. And in fact, there are a lot of properties that are not even an acre. So the minimum lot area requirement is 1 acre. And if you think about it, 1 acre is 43,560 square feet, to be precise. If you have a 50-foot front yard setback requirement, then you have a 50-foot side yard setback requirement. What really remains? There's very little room for you to build anything.
Yeah.
So, and what has happened is because of that, so probably when it was written, much thought wasn't given to it, or probably the development pattern was such that we allowed subdivisions which were smaller than an acre. But because of that, these businesses have been asking for variances on setbacks. So I actually went and checked through most of the properties to see what is the smallest property. There is a property that is 20,000 square feet. There's a property that is 10,000 square feet. How reasonable is it to ask for a 50-foot front yard setback or a 50-foot side yard setback?
Right.
Having that 25-foot seems to be more reasonable because you're not having the buildings really next to each other. So there is some wiggle room, and the 25 feet actually comes for if there is a driveway, a combined access driveway, which is typically 24 feet, then you have a 25-foot side yard setback. That's the minimum you want to be. So basically, that's the rationale behind it.
Okay, this is really exciting. I mean, to me, I sat on the planning board the whole year, and it's great to see that you're looking at the whole town and you're seeing inconsistencies and trying to fix it. This is really exciting. It's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The only thing that I say, when you reduce the setbacks, if there's residential or someone who doesn't want a building, so close to them. So what is the buffer and what is, green belts between them, landscaping?
We're not changing the landscape buffers. They're still going to be the same. So we're not really saying that you don't require a buffer. You still would require the buffer. That's why we have the minimum and the maximum. And in fact, if you look at the CN zone, like I drove around to get a feel of it, there are some buildings that are really right next to the right-of-way where there is no buffer. What this does is we're not removing the buffer requirement. So if somebody wants to put in a house or a business right next to the street right of way, they would have to seek a variance from either the planning board or the zoning board. So essentially, the board would have the authority to approve it or not. But we are not removing that requirement. We still have those buffers. We still have those requirements in place. So this is just to give you an idea. This was meant for discussion purposes. When we come next time in front of you, there'll be a draft ordinance for you to look at. This is just to explain why we are doing what we are doing.
No, I totally understand why you're doing it, but I always want to keep the resident in mind that doesn't want a building on top of them. And so if you say there's a range, that would be for each individual property, okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time and all the hard work. It's very appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes,
do we need to move that up for first reading?
they don't have really anything in.
There's no ordinance drafted yet.
Right, so we have to
Or do
wait
we need
until
to
they
tell them
do
to
it.
draft one?
What we'll do is we'll have an ordinance for first reading now.
Right.
Since the discussion is already taking place, it will be a first reading ordinance.
Okay.
Yep, okay, all right, thank you. Next will be council member comments. Anyone on my left for a comment? Anyone on my right for a council comment? Dr. Greenberg?
Yes, I hope everyone comes out to Old Bridge Day, Saturday, the 21st, from 12 to 5. Enjoy it. There's always a lot of activity there, and it's nice to see everyone.
Okay, anyone else? Then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.